Growing up, I was in a family full of science nerds. My mom was a nurse practitioner. My dad was a nuclear engineer. Grandfather was literally a rocket scientist. And I popped out a creative. I loved the idea of growing up and becoming a doctor because I thought that's what I had to do. It took until I found a camera. I quickly realized that any minute I didn't have a camera in my hands was a minute wasted. I fell in love with photography, and so I graduated and I built that business and I started scaling it, and I went after all of the success metrics that the world tells you to go after. And I remember feeling so utterly alone. And I recognized that if I continued to operate my business alone, then it wasn't a life worth pursuing. So I started opening up to other people. I realized that there were other people navigating the same feeling of isolation in entrepreneurship, in loneliness and leadership. And together we set out to co-found the Rising Tide Society. Because of all of those experiences, I discovered a new community that I never would have had before. My friends brought me to United. I was using a different platform at the time. And I remember as I was getting on the plane to leave, I thought to myself, I've got to become a part of this community. And so I signed up. I became a founding lifetime member of Showit. I've been using the platform ever since. While the community is growing, and things with Rising Tide could not possibly be any better. I am dealing with a diagnosis of a benign brain tumor, monitoring it quietly, privately in the background while growing this community, while building my business, while doing all the things that the world gets to see. We went to see a fertility doctor, and that doctor essentially told me that with my benign brain tumor, they were not willing to help us to start our family. And it felt like one door was being slammed shut and another one was opening. Hugh and I, my husband, we decided to throw ourselves into this opportunity to start over in California. I left it all behind to try to chase after this incredible opportunity to work for a company that I loved in a brand new city and create new connections and grow Rising Tide. When we got to California, my brand new medical team determined that surgery was the best option. And I felt my entire world flip upside down. So much of what I've learned about community has come from experiencing the community that Showit has built. As I was opening up about needing brain surgery and the recovery that was to follow, I did that from the United stage. And I shared that openly and publicly for the first time, surrounded by my creative family at Showit. About 11, 12 months later, Huey was born. Showit is a family. Showit is a group of different creators from all over who share a set of values and a desire to use their passion to make an impact on the world. Desire to take that creativity and use it for good. Showit is a place where you show up as yourself and create a world that reflects everything in you. I realized that community is strongest in the struggle. And that is what I experienced from my Showit family. We made the difficult decision 2 years after having moved to San Francisco to move back to Annapolis. In going through that experience, when Hugh and I came back to Annapolis, we were different people. We were better people. And the community really was at the heart of that. Doing life with others is how we are created to operate. Belonging is wired into our DNA. And when we change our lives from operating out of a place of independent successes and achievements, of striving and trying to do right for ourselves, and we start to look at the larger picture, we start to see the ways that we can show up for others, the ways that we are all connected, that's where we start to change the fabric of our communities. That's where we start to show up differently, where we start to think about how others are impacted by our actions, how we can rise in our own right as leaders in different spaces and impact other people for the better, not for our own gain, but for the gain of the community. Now that we've moved back, we have become overly connected to our city and our community. We are connected to other entrepreneurs and business owners. And that building this family, not just biological family, but community family, is a legacy that I want to leave. Showit helps me to be the best version of myself as a community builder and as an entrepreneur. And in the future seasons of my life, Showit's still going to be there helping me to create a website that invites people in and ensures that they know they belong. Part of why I build community is to ensure that no one has to go through this life alone. And in watching my son grow up, I believe it's my responsibility, not just as his mom, but as a human being that needs to use the talents that I do have to make this world better, to create communities such that someone like Huey will never feel the way that I did, and that he will value community in the way that I've come to now value it. I want to leave this world a little better than how I found it. And so in creating community and building a business, in building my legacy, I'm doing that for him.